Hello, welcome in the next episode of my devlog MMORPG from scratch. Today, I'll show you how to implement a very simple player movement, walking forward and turning. Client will be responsible for sending to the server player direction and state, walk or idle, and server will calculate player position. For now, I won't implement client-side prediction. To get new player position, we'll use HTTP polling. Let's start with a short showcase. I'll log into game. Okay, we have a player. So if I press W button, my player go forward. I can then turn right and turn left. Also, I can walk and turn simultaneously. This is a small diagram which is showing the flow of the player movement. So on the left, we have a player. On the right, we have server, which is running game loop. First, player updates the state or direction and by sending post to the server. Server applies the change in the simulation. And as I mentioned, also player can change direction. So also post direction to the server. Server also applies this into simulation. And every 200 milliseconds, client is performing get to the server for position. Server is returning position and client updates position on the UI. And everything starts again. So player can update position or state or direction. Server applies the changes. And next 200 milliseconds, client is calling again for position. Let's start with the client code. So I added one method, pause for player status and update. I'm calling this method after user is login to the game. And this is just simply I'm setting interval every 200 milliseconds. I'm calling the server with get operation, asking for player state. For handling keyboard inputs, I created two classes, which is keyboard event manager and player movement controller. So keyboard events manager is responsible for listening keyboard events on the scene. And if the event is key down or key up, I'm notifying the observers. So I created a method bind, which is binding the key to the controller. And controller is just simply interface, which is some method which will be called when the key is pressed or key is released. So in this keyboard event manager, I'm binding buttons into player movement controller. And let's go to the player movement controller. In the player movement controller, I'm passing player mesh into constructor. I'm initializing some key states, button states, and I'm setting interval for updating the player direction. So every time the flag is set to true, I'm sending direction update to the server. I didn't want to send player direction update on every frame on the game engine, so I decided to set the interval and send this information every 100 milliseconds. And if we go further, so we have those methods which were called when the key is pressed or released. So I'm saving the state of the buttons and then I'm calculating the direction. So direction is just I'm adding or subtracting angle from the direction. Yes, I have some delta, and for now it works quite well. Player state I'm recalculating in this method. So I'm saving the current state. Then I'm checking if the KW is pressed and the player state is idle. the update state is walk, else if the key is released and press state is walk, then update state is idle. Then I'm checking the state is different than the new one. If yes, I'm sending to the server update for the player state, which could be walk or idle. Let's go to the server code. I create a player controller which has 3 new methods, which is method responsible for getting the state of the player, so the position. Player state, name is unfortunate, but this is position of the player. There's an endpoint for update state and endpoint for update direction. So how it works? So every call, I'm checking if the request contains session cookie. Then by session cookie, I'm getting the username. This logic is common in every endpoint. And then I'm performing operation on the game engine. So it might be get player state, or set player state, or set player direction. Let's go to the game engine. So in the game engine, I'm keeping 3 maps, which is user to position, user to state, and user to direction. And game loop consists of the while loop with the true condition, and each loop I'm iterating user to state. I'm checking if the state is equals walk. If yes, then I'm getting the user position, user direction. I'm calculating the movement in direction in the Z and X direction. And then I'm calculating the new position. Then I'm creating the new one and updating the position. And I'm performing this every 100 milliseconds. Implementation is far from perfect, but on the prototyping stage, I think it's okay. We can move the player around the map. This is all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye.